The From Busy to Rich podcast helps financial advisors grow their businesses beyond the products they sell and the assets they manage, increase profitability, and reclaim their time by providing strategies and insights that will not only change your life, but practice.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to From Busy to Rich. With me, as always, is Wes Young, your host. Wes, it's great to see you today. How are you doing?
Brother, I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
And for those of you who get to tune in and see the YouTube, you're going to see a new face today. We got the privilege of hosting a guest. You'll also notice that Wes has been on the road. That's not his normal background. He's traveling to one of our partner groups, so that may come up in the conversation as we grow and looking at opportunities there. But Wes, why don't you give us a quick introduction to our guest, and we'll dive into the topic for today.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited. And even just leading up to the show, the conversation that we've been engaging in with Bryan Clayton, he's got a really fun entrepreneurial story and background. I think all the things that he talks about and says is going to deeply resonate. Bryan, thanks for being on the show, brother.
Well, Justin and Wes, I appreciate you guys having me on. This is great to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'd love it if you wouldn't mind, as we start out here, give all our listeners kind of your story, where you've come from and what you do today, and kind of what that journey, that gap was in between those two.
Yeah, I guess I was lucky to start my first business when I was 14 years old because I was forced to do it. My dad got tired of watching me play Super Mario Kart and said, "Hey, get off your butt. The neighbor needs somebody to mow their yard." And he made me go mow the neighbor's yard. And I got paid like $20 for that. And that just clicked for me. And I said, this is great. I don't have to hassle you guys for money anymore. And I don't have to wear the cheap soccer cleats anymore. I can go buy the cleats I want. And this all made sense. And I, by the end of that first summer, had like 10 lawn mowing customers and stuck with that business all through high school. And then when I went to college, I didn't want to take on a bunch of student loan debt. So I mowed grass all day and went to school at night. And then when I graduated college, I had to make a little decision. Was I gonna get a job or stick with this lawn mowing business? Didn't really want to be a lawn guy. I hated cutting grass. Actually, I hated smelling like gasoline and cut grass all day. But I thought, this could be my lane. I could, maybe if I took what I'm doing and times it by like 5, maybe I might have an actual business. And I was extremely lucky to be in Middle Tennessee, outside of Nashville, where the local economy was booming. It still is. And so I could see that, okay, well, there's new apartments, new shopping centers, new neighborhoods. They're going to need what it is I'm doing. If I could build an actual business in this industry, as not glamorous as it is, I could still create a lane for myself, and made a little business plan with what I learned in college, and ended up scaling that to a real business, growing it to about 150 people, around $10 million a year in sales. And then it was acquired by a national outfit out of Austin, Texas, actually. So I was lucky to have been in a part of the country that was growing, and lucky to have been forced into starting a business, and then kind of lucky enough to kind of just learn how to do it through trial and error and build something valuable. And then kind of after that, I took some time off and I just learned a lot about myself, that I really wanted to be a part of a project, a part of something that was growing. And I started a business called GreenPal, which is like the DoorDash for lawn mowing. And now GreenPal, 10 years in, is the nation's largest network of lawn care services you can hire from a smartphone.
That's awesome. So that you were like one of the few tech founders who started with like in the trenches. And, a lot of, we joke about it in our industry because we have a financial planning software that we created because the ones out there were all built by programmers and that hadn't lived it. So I'm just curious of like what that was like. And like when you saw this, hey, this could be something really cool. Like what was the triggering for making that leap?
Yeah, it's often debated, like, would you rather know the problem in the business and learn the programming, or come to the starting gate with the programming knowledge and then apply a business problem to that? I believe more in the former. I think if you have the scars, if you have the knowledge around a very like white hot problem that exists that needs to be solved, that technology can help solve, then you can start on first or second base. And that the programming and the coding, you can learn that and you can outsource that and you can kind of build that around what it is that the problem that you see in the marketplace. And so that's how it happened for me. Now, it wasn't easy. I had to learn how to build software. I tried to outsource the idea for GreenPal in the early days, and that was a big failure. And so I had to go to YouTube University and learn how to build software. And my co-founder did the same thing. And so it was a hard slog in the early days. But I think if you have kind of like the domain experience about what it is, the problem that you're solving, and then kind of how you can solve that and make that better with technology, that can put the wind at your back. And you see this a lot. I do kind of coaching and mentoring for founders as a hobby, and the ones that I see that make it are the ones that got in the trenches and actually experienced the real world problems, what they're trying to solve.
No, that's awesome. Did version, because I going through the software creation process for ourselves, I know one, it took a lot longer than I thought, and it cost a whole lot more money than I thought it was going to cost in there. And the first version was definitely far away from where we needed to be. What were some of your experiences as you guys were like figuring it out and tinkering with it?
Yeah. Well, you did something smart. You were building for yourself and you were actually using it, right?
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, most startup founders don't even do that. They're building for some mythical person that exists that could maybe be a customer that actually never uses the product, and nobody cares about the product. And you learn the hard way, if you build it, they will not come.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good point that you just made, is that if you can just build for yourself first. Maybe you own a pizzeria and you think that there should be a better online ordering system for small pizzerias. And
Yeah.
you build that thing for yourself and you use it, and then maybe you get a friend to use it, and then maybe you do that. Like now you got five, maybe you get to 5 customers, and that can help demystify a lot of what it is you're building. And the problem is we start with all of these preconceived notions of how we think the product should exist and how it should look like, and how it should be designed, and all of that like falls apart with first interaction with actual users. And there were many places that I had assumptions that just proved out to be wrong. The first one is I thought we were building a system that could deliver the cheapest lawn mowing service. And that's how we built the first version. It's like, okay, it's a competitive bidding system. You sign up on GreenPal, you get 5 free quotes really quick, and you can hire the cheapest lawn guy. Because I had a contractor background, and I thought, customers only want the cheapest solution. That's all they care about. And then what I quickly learned was that no, consumers didn't want the cheapest service. They wanted the most reliable and the quickest.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to use something like DoorDash or Instacart or GreenPal, they're going to pay a premium. Like DoorDash ain't cheap.
Yeah.
And their stock just hit an all-time high. And so if you start with these invalid assumptions and you don't validate them with real users, real customers really quick,
Yeah.
you could waste 5 or 10 years of your life.
That's such an important point. And I think about it as for our listeners, as we were talking, a lot of they're all entrepreneurs, founders in many cases of their own holistic financial planning businesses. And one of the things we talk about all the time is the people you're trying to lead need to feel the weight of the problem you help solve or opportunity you help seize before they care about all your solutions and processes and things to solving it. And so our process with clients is very much one of exploring, hey, what is the life that you're living? What's the unlived life within you? And let's talk about the resistance that stands in the middle of that. And then once we've identified that and they're excited about the future, then it's really easy to say, okay, let's grab these strategies, these ideas in this process that are really going to help you live a better, richer life. Which sounds like when you're in that testing, because a lot of advisors, they have all these cool products and ideas and strategies that aren't getting traction because they're leading with stuff instead of what's the client's story that they're living out every day that they really want to solve for, which sounds like exactly what the process you went through as you're kind of developing the green lawn to where it is today.
Yeah, exactly. And And guess what? Just because you do it in the early days and maybe you get to like level 1 or level 2 of the game doesn't mean you get to stop doing that. You have to continue to do that, and you have to like bake it into your habits, your weekly workflow. And so I'm always paranoid about what it is that the customers of GreenPal have going on in their head and what it is I have going on in my head.
Yeah.
And there being like a gap that forms between those two things.
Yeah.
And like I'm looking at like the problem and solution that we have from a different like perspective completely than what they and then how they see it. And so and this has happened to me where they end up speaking different languages than I do in terms of how they talk about the problem and how they talk about getting somebody to solve this problem for them. And so the way I close that gap, or try to anyway, is I do at least an hour a day of one-on-one customer support. You know, we have over 300,000 customers all over the country, and then we have a little small support team, but I still jump in there and answer the phones for an hour on Monday. I'll do email tickets on Tuesday. I will do live chat on Wednesday just for an hour. And I have gotten that is the highest leverage time that I spend in a week, because I'm always getting ideas about, okay, yeah, this is we're upsetting customers with this thing, and we need to like take people off of this project and put them on this one. This is the most important one. So it's like, as crazy as that sounds and as simple as that sounds, most founders don't do it. In fact, they don't even want to talk to their customers.
Yeah.
You know, I've been guilty of that. You have to bake that into your weekly habits.
Yeah, that really resonates with us because we have a similar kind of makeup for us, because we've got the client-facing side, but then we teach and transform for advisors because of the same concept of starting out. Hey, what are some things that can make our life better as advisors and how we want to serve clients? And then finding out, hey, there's other people that want to do the same thing. And then you start building a product around that. But something that what you talked about just resonated is it almost becomes like your R&D component, right? Like you're still in it.
Yeah.
You're researching and developing new ideas, and then that becomes the thing that, hey, other people that are like me, that want the types of things that we want, and this resonates with, this is going to be for them. And then it becomes this additional development for whether it's the software or for us on our process.
It's free R&D.
Yeah.
And in the early days, it's your hand cranking sales, so you got to do it anyway. But as time goes on, you know, maybe you get to different milestones. That literally is free R&D. It's the highest leverage time you'll spend in a week, and it's like, I can't afford an R&D department, or I can't. Well, you got one now, and it's called you know, the cell phone number, the 1-800 number rings to your cell phone for an hour a day.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like simple and trite, but it really can be. It really can help.
Man, that I love it, because to our heartbeat, like we the name of our class that we teach to advisors a couple times a year is called Transform, with the premise of it is that while different isn't always better, better is always different. And you know, the fact that our greatest opportunities to recognize our future possibilities is not necessarily about abandoning our normal, but it is also not about rejecting new. It's about keeping that tension between the two. And the moment that people begin to rest on where they are at, like they've created a measure of success, things are pretty good, but they quit normalizing new. They quit saying, how can this be better? How can we do? That's when atrophy and playing out, and then atrophy begins, and then you become Blockbuster Video, right? It's instead of Netflix. So I think that is gold in a mindset for a growing entrepreneur.
Yeah, you really have to have that philosophy. I think the Japanese in the 80s of their philosophy was Kaizen, constant improvement. And so you have to, it doesn't matter what your business is, you have to think about what is that constant improvement going to be. Even if you run like I helped a lady the other day who runs a small bakery, and she was trying to figure out how to put AI in her bakery. And it was kind of a fun experiment. And what we landed on was, okay, well, I'm looking at your Facebook reviews and your Yelp reviews, and you've got, and overall pretty good, but you know, there's some 1-star reviews here. Let's feed all of that in the Chat GPT, and then let's do that once a week, and then say, give me 5 things I can do to improve the business. And let's just make that our Friday habit. And that simple little routine she now this lady has Kaizen built into her little bakery. And so you don't have to like overthink these things. You just have to make them part of your routine as a business owner, part of your habits to constantly improve every week. And guess what? These things don't add up. They compound.
Yeah.
And you can wake up in a totally different reality a year or two later if you stick with this kind of stuff and stay consistent with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great segue in the sense of you never fully remove yourself. If you really want to continue to grow, develop new ideas and content, you've got to have some touch points at the baseline of the business. Foundationally, what are we doing and where can we improve? But then also, if you're running the business and trying to build it, you can't do that all the time. Like
Right.
you've got to create systems and teams and support. I'm even going to steal one of your quotes. You said, there's literally no excuse to not systematize a lot of aspects of your business these days. And so I'd love if you had any feedback on what are some, on top of what you just said, what are some other non-negotiables for you that or systems that advisors or service entrepreneurs should build in today?
Yeah, it's a man, I mean, I've got so many scars around this where I've been guilty of it, and co-founders of mine have been guilty of it, of conflating working hard with being effective. And
Come on, I love it.
yeah, and it's just like back when I was in the landscaping days, I had a co-founder who was willing to do anything, anytime, anywhere to make it happen, and that's great. Like you want that in somebody who's in the trenches with you, but he would oftentimes do it at the expense of other higher leverage things we needed to do. There was one time we had a project and the materials were late and he just said, I'm going to jump in the truck and drive 4 hours away and go get them and I'll be back tomorrow. And it's like, okay, yeah, thanks, but really we needed to go over the spreadsheets of our P&L from last month. That's really what we should be doing, not riding in the truck all day. And so and I've been guilty of that too, where you conflate really, doing something like that, working hard and working long hours, because you really don't want to do the stuff you don't want to do, which is the harder kind of on it type of business things.
Uh,
And the way I have kind of dealt with that in my own kind of personal journey is I will hire fractionally people that make a lot of money to spend an hour a week or hour a month with me, and then I have to like level up and meet them at a high level, and it could be like a fractional CFO, a fractional chief of legal, a fractional marketing person. At different stages of the business, you can't afford these people full time. And
yeah.
guess what? Now you do have to pour over the spreadsheets. You do have to go through the books. You do have to level up to be ready for that meeting. And if you don't kind of engineer these ways to where you can't screw it up, the next thing you know, you're jumping in the truck and you're wasting 2 days or half a day doing something because you think it's the right thing. You're working hard, but you're not working effectively. And so be wary of that. Working on the business and working in the business and knowing the difference between the two.
Man, there's a great book. It's a newer released one by Dr. Benjamin Hardy called The Science of Scaling. I don't know if you got a hold of that one yet.
I haven't read that one. No.
It is so good. They also wrote the book 10x is easier than 2x, and but the mentality there is exactly what you were just saying. He kind of goes off of the first and foremost, you got to have an impossible goal and an impossible deadline, because what that does for you is all of a sudden, if you think about, well, that seems impossible, but if I was going to get there, what would I have to do in order to reach that mark? A lot of what you're doing, which may be fine, it may be okay things, they're not going to get you there. They're not
Right.
going to scale to the level that you're trying to get. So you kind of throw, what are these low value activities? And again, you can have, like you said, a hard worker and somebody that's willing to put in hours. I'll work hard, but money follows value creation. It doesn't follow hard work and it doesn't follow long hours. You may have to work long hours and hard to deliver your value, but that what is the true value creation activities that are going to move the needle the most rather than just keep you busy? And so I love your framework there.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I think about it is this: you're doing 3 things at once at all times. You're working in the business, so you're answering calls, you're making sure customers are getting taken care of, you're making sure bills are being paid, you're making sure that the services are being executed. And then the second thing is, we all know this, working on the business, you're looking at the systems, the routines, the processes, the different software tools you're using, the profit and loss. You're looking at all of these things, and you're working on the business. And then the third thing is, you're working on yourself. You have to level up. You got to read the book that you just mentioned. You got to listen to podcasts like this one. You have to set aside time every week to work on yourself. And that's where the long hours come in.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of hours to do all three of these things. The problem is that most people work the long hours in the first bucket.
Yes.
And then they burn themselves out, and they're just self-employed. And so the long hours, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you don't have to work long hours, especially in the early days. You do. Because you have to do all three of these things on a weekly habitual basis.
So good. So much in what you just said there, there's a quote of somebody that Ben Feldman, who was a kind of an industry leader in our industry many years ago. And he would always say that, we come into this business in a state of starry-eyed enthusiasm, and then we educate ourselves to a place of sophisticated confusion. And he said the real winners in this game emerge to that other side of mature simplicity and say, what are the fundamentals that are actually moving the needle here? And they are those three things that you mentioned, which is, you said, man, people, they build themselves a great job, but it's not a business. And it's like they're riding a one-speed bike. And in early days they can pedal faster, and that it makes them go faster. Eventually you can only pedal a one-speed bike so fast before you burn out. Instead, stopping and adding another gear. Because another gear, like you said, it multiplies. It doesn't just add. It gives you that capacity to do more. And you only get that by doing those other things of stopping and working on the business and working on yourself. What are the things that I don't even know exist out there that is going to be that idea that helps me view through a different set of lenses that I would have missed stuff before?
Exactly. You don't realize it. I know I haven't realized it at times, but I was the choke point of where the business
Yes.
was at that given moment. It could have been our sales plateaued, and we needed to look at our sales process from a different perspective, and we needed to think through, how do we create predictable revenue, like the big boys do it. And I had to go back to the drawing board, re-educate myself over 6 months, a year, to re-engineer our sales system, and it could be leadership. Nobody teaches us how to be a decent leader or a decent manager. And so
Yeah.
maybe you got high turnover, or people don't like to work for you, or maybe you don't like the people that work in your business and you hired the wrong people. So you got to work on your own leadership skills. It's like it's block and tackling at different stages of the game, and you kind of have to focus on one at a time and develop these building blocks. And you got to set aside time to do it. And for me, it's Saturday or Sunday afternoon. I set aside 4 or 5 hours just to read a book or pour over some stuff on YouTube, really down the rabbit hole for whatever it is I suck at that given
Yeah.
moment that's costing my business to grow.
Yeah, that's huge. I think the ability the most successful entrepreneurs, advisors in our business, are the ones that are willing to go back and continue to reevaluate and look for the weaknesses, and not just sit in your strength and defend the old habits and the ways of doing things. But I'm really successful here. You become complacent, sit in that state, and honestly, it's like the frog in the pot situation, right? Like, you're just sitting there and you don't realize you're in trouble until it's too late, right? Like,
Yep.
you don't realize you're behind the power curve. You talk about AI and the speed of development. If you're waiting to see what everybody else is doing, you're going to be way behind the power curve on that integration and the capability that can provide. By the time it catches up to you, it's like a wave coming in, and it's either going to crash over you, can ride it like a good surfer would do. And so I think that's a huge thing for building success, is if you're not building that into your routine as a rhythm, you're gonna miss the opportunities.
Exactly. That's the thing that always hangs me up is I know I should do these things. I know that they're good for my business. They're good for me as a human being. But then I'll do them for a little while, and then I get lazy, or I get sidetracked. And it's like building in the things that you have to trip over whether it be working with coaches or working with
Yeah.
consultants or working with fractional people, to where you have to literally trip over it week after week, to where that causes you and forces you to do the things that you got to do, is how I have dealt with that. And the good news is that running a business, a small business, a big business, any business, is one of the best providers of feedback from the universe that you're ever going to get. Customers are going to tell you everywhere you stink. Employees are going to tell you intentionally, or they're going to tell you passively that you're not a good manager, you're not a good leader. Stakeholders are going to tell you with investing capital in you or not. It's like you're always getting this feedback, and guess what? You get exactly the business you deserve. You
Yeah.
get exactly the company culture you deserve. You get exactly the customer base you deserve. That's one of the best things about it. It's like I don't know of anywhere else you're going to get such clean, unvarnished, candid feedback than the marketplace. And you can either ignore it and be the same and just beat your head against the wall and be like pissed off that things aren't going the way they should, or you can take it for what it is and break through and get to the next level. And I've been on both sides of that over the last 25 years, and I think in just embracing it for what it is can help you deal with it.
Man, we were doing a class this morning for our Transform University, and one of the things we were talking a lot about is creating peak performance teams, the people that you're doing life with in your business, and a big thing that comes up is like when you're gonna have somebody join your team, what story are you inviting them into? Is it
Right.
is it work for me? I'll pay you because that's what most employers do. And how exciting is that? Or is it, hey, if you're with us, here's where we're going together. And what excites you about that unlived life within you that we could tap into that together through your work here? What would that be like? And giving them a better life to live because work is such a big part of most people's life. And if it's done well, it can provide so much enjoyment and satisfaction and meaning. What are your thoughts like when you're getting team members? What are some of the things you guys think about and do to have that strong culture that makes the business run well?
Yeah, which by the way, to your point, if you can deliver on that, like if you can help somebody get where they're trying to go in life, and this little business that you built was the vehicle for that, that's one of the most rewarding, fulfilling, fun things about running a business is like you see that prosperity like being created out of thin air. And that was one of the things running running my first business and my second business is seeing the people that are in the trenches with me, working on the mission with me, doing a little better than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
It could be maybe they got a new car, or maybe they put a down payment on a house, or maybe their kids are in private school or something
Yeah.
that didn't happen a year or two ago, that the business was the vehicle for that. And so that's some of the, like, as you get through the levels of the game, like money and profit isn't going to sustain you forever. And it's creating that organization that helps lift up the people that are in it with you is one of the funnest things that I've experienced in the last 20 years. And so how do you deliver on that, and how do you protect that culture? Well, the first thing is you gotta recognize that if somebody is not bought into it, you gotta do them a favor and help them get on somewhere else, and you have to make that decision quickly. And every time I don't know, I have screwed this up so many times in 20 years, is that I defer that decision and I make it too late. And I made a promise to myself 5 years ago that I wasn't gonna do that anymore. And so if somebody's not a good fit, within the first week,
Yeah.
and cut it short quickly, and then get on to getting somebody who is a good fit. Because if you don't, it's really hard to protect that culture. It's really hard to protect that vibe in the organization. The second thing I at a practical, like tactical level, that I like to do is I keep an org chart of what the business is, where it is today, and where it's going. And I try to really just show that to people who work in the business with me, but also people who I'm looking to bring on. It's like, okay, this is the role you're at now. This is where this is where we need you today. But if we can execute on these milestones we have, this is where we want you to grow to, and we're going to invest in these things and help you grow along with the business. And it's going to mean more salary. It's going to mean more responsibility. And you can kind of get a sense for if somebody's like down with that or not. And if they're not, then maybe they might not be a good fit. But if they are, they get jazzed up, they get excited about that. They want to like conquer new territory. That's who they are. That man, like if you can get that right, that's like 1 + 1 = 5, 10, 100. It really does unlock a lot of value.
Love that.
Yeah, I love the math.
Yeah, that's when you're really clicking is you create abundance, you create value out of thin air. It's not just linear. It's not like 1 + 1 is 2. It really is. It means for your customers, for your employees, for your stakeholders, you really can unlock value if you get this stuff right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome. As we wrap up today's session, Bryan, where can listeners connect with you or follow you, what you're building as far as GreenPal and everything else?
Yeah, I post on LinkedIn regularly. So just Google my name, Bryan Clayton, LinkedIn, you'll find me there. Same thing. If you just Google my name, you'll find my Instagram. I hang out there too. Anybody want to check out GreenPal, just greenpal.com. And yeah, that's where you can find out about me. Hit me up,
I just
drop me a
downloaded the
DM.
app on my phone. So
All right. Thank you. Let me know how you liked it.
I will. I know right where to go if I have any questions, right? So
Fantastic. You got me.
That's awesome. Well, to everyone listening, we'll be sure to drop links to GreenPal, Bryan's LinkedIn, and some of the other interview notes from today. And if you're looking to simplify your business, sharpen your story, scale with margins we were talking about, check out Transform Learning Series, westyounglive.com. Really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to From Busy to Rich. If something in today's episode sparked an idea or hit a nerve, don't keep it to yourself. Follow the show, share it with a friend, and let's keep building a community of advisors who want more. You can find more resources, tools, and free content at westyounglive.com. We'll see you back here next time for more real conversations about building the life and business you really want.